In order to view Windows event logs today, a user has few options but to go through Event Viewer. The application offers a snapshot into what is happening on a machine, but in a way that makes it difficult for a user to really understand what's going on. A user has to know exactly how to find the log they're looking for, scroll through their feed manually in search of the specific event they're looking for, and then try and make sense of the data displayed in a pop-up window that gives the user only a few options for viewing the data. Suppose also that I was extremely interested in the behaviors of processes like MS Paint or Notepad. If I started these processes up on my computer and then searched for them in my event feed, I wouldn't see them right away. I'd have to manually refresh Event Viewer, then repeat the whole process of scrolling through a whole new set of logs in search of events related to Notepad or Paint. There aren't many options for filtering an event easily besides its event ID. And as you can see, it doesn't do much to help me with what I'm looking for. It's essentially very difficult for a user to understand what's going on in their system using Event Viewer alone, and nearly impossible for them to understand this in real time. Real-time KQL intercepts logs and allows users to come up with queries to modify and aggregate data as and when it comes in. Since in this example, I am particularly interested in process start events, I can come up with a query that will filter out all other events and show me only the fields I'm interested in. This query accomplishes the task in just a few lines. Now, I just need to run the real-time KQL tool, specify that I'm interested in the security log events specifically, say that I want to use the process creation query file, and that I want all the results to output to console. I go to PowerShell, I switch between command prompt and PowerShell a couple of times to generate some process start logs. And I can see that there's already some data populating the console in the background without me having to do anything. I open up MS Paint from PowerShell, and then when I go back to my console and terminate the program, there's an entry for each action I took, including one for starting up MS Paint. So rather than the pretty laborious process I had to go through to try and see an event of my choosing in Event Viewer, just a few lines of query and the real-time KQL tool gave me the ability to find exactly what I was looking for, all in real time. Now, if I wanted to come up with a query of my own, there are two pretty easy ways for me to do so. The first method is to run the tool again without any query files and put the output in a local JSON file this time around. This will allow me to examine the raw data in a more easy way and determine which fields I want to isolate. I start up some processes in PowerShell. And then I go back to my console, terminate the program, and open up the securitysample.json file that has been newly generated to examine the data. I see that the security log events have a ton of fields associated with them, and I definitely only want to see a few of those fields. So then I can come up with a query that will isolate just the fields that I want to see, and this file right here is one such query. It will just show me the time created, the process name, the parent process name, and the command line. Now I run the real-time KQL tool with the same specifications as before, the security log, the output to console, and then I specify this new query file. I go to PowerShell and I start some processes up, but I specifically switch to the command prompt first, open up Notepad from there, Then I switch back to PowerShell and open up Paint from there because I'm looking at the command line field now, so that field specifically will look different based off whether or not I started up a process from the command prompt or PowerShell. And as you can see on console, the output of the data has changed and it matches my expectations. Another helpful method for coming up with queries is to first ingest the raw data straight to Kusto and then examine it within the Kusto Explorer. So now I'm running the tool, and rather than outputting to console or local file, I'm specifying the cluster and database and table that I want the real-time KQL tool to ingest my security logs to. I go to PowerShell and start up some processes. I return to my console and terminate the program. Now I can go to Kusto Explorer and take a look at the events in my test table. I see that there are new security events for process starts in there, including a process start event for the tool itself. And I have a query pasted below in the Kusto Explorer. The Explorer gives me the ability to experiment with queries on the fly and see what kind of effect they have on the data output. This will enable me to come up with a query that will give me the data that I want and come up with a query that I know will succeed before I feed it into the real-time KQL tool the next time around.